to you for to kick us off.
Okay, well, just wanted to welcome everyone to this morning's webinar and thank you for joining us. We are really excited to share the BayREN Business FLEXmarket with you this morning. Just wanted to have a couple introductions. So I'm Kara Batista Rao. I'm the program lead for the BayREN Business FLEXmarket program, and I work for the San Francisco Environment Department. And Andrew, do you want to introduce yourself too?
Yeah, nice to meet you all. I'm Andrew Terenzio. I'm a manager of demand flexibility markets and the program manager on behalf of Recurve for the BayREN Business FLEXmarket.
All right, let's go to the next slide. So on the agenda for today, we're going to do quick introductions, a program overview. We'll go over eligibility, the program process, how incentive payments work, and then we'll have time for Q&A. You can also put questions in the chat and we'll work to answer those as well. Next slide. So BayREN, the Bay Area Regional Energy Network, is a collaboration between the 9 Bay Area counties, and it's funded by ratepayer dollars. As a program administrator, BayREN has offered regional programs focusing on reducing energy use, water, and greenhouse gas emissions for about 10 years now. And these programs have provided the Bay Area with rebates, technical assistance, education, and more. So today we're focusing on our commercial sector program, the BayREN Business FLEXmarket. San Francisco's Environment Department leads the BayREN Business FLEXmarket program on behalf of BayREN. And in addition, the 9 Bay Area counties will be actively conducting marketing and outreach to small and medium businesses in their local communities. So this will help to demonstrate legitimacy for the program and help to generate additional leads for all of you as aggregators. Next slide. We're working with 2 program implementers, and they have key roles that they play in the program, and they're Recurve and TRC engineers. Recurve provides the software platform and engineering for the FLEXmarket, and they run the FLEXmarket programs for a number of organizations. TRC helps to vet interested small and medium businesses who contact the program. So checking that they're eligible, and then they can pass those warm leads on to aggregators. They also provide businesses with referrals to other programs if they're not a good fit for our program. TRC conducts QA/QC for the program, and they can provide technical assistance to you or to small and medium business customers as needed. Next slide. The BayREN Business FLEXmarket works to deliver energy efficiency solutions to small and medium businesses with a particular focus on hard-to-reach businesses. And these businesses have been, really hard hit by the pandemic. By helping businesses save energy, they also save money, which they can put back into their businesses. And of course, saving energy can also help to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. So I'm going to hand it over to Andrew to go more into how the FLEXmarket works.
Thank you, Kara. Yeah, we are very excited. I'll just echo that off the bat. Being able to practice the FLEXmarket market access model to target these, as the name would indicate, small to medium businesses and hard to reach audiences is something that we are excited to do and be able to offer very specific and increased incentives to unlock an audience, which is otherwise harder for us to reach. So from a very broad perspective, the BayREN Business FLEXmarket operates akin to the other FLEXmarkets that we have currently live. From a very, very simplistic high level, it works in as the flow, as you might see on this stage. You're going to take a project that you have in its proposal stage and kick it over to us, where we will essentially review it, desktop review, engineering review, and say, yes, this looks really good. We would love to have this project. We will reserve money from our budget for you to go complete the project, which jumps to step 2, which is the actual building and completion of any one of your projects, where you then give largely that same information back to us that's finalized for really what is the conclusion of the actual aggregator or contractor's experience with the actual program with regard to building projects. Once it's completed and installed and we receive all the paperwork, it then becomes a more of a programmatic aspect for us to dish out a couple of next steps for you all. The first of which is the advance payment that gets sent to aggregators, which we will talk more about. It is a 20% advance payment that gets paid upfront outside of the quarterly payment process. After that, any particular project will have its performance measured over the course of the next 12 months, and Recurve will issue quarterly payments on the portfolio of projects that you submit at that quarterly increment throughout your involvement in the program, and which is defined as whenever your last project is accumulating its last savings. So the more you enroll projects, the longer your involvement in the program will be, and we keep moving things forward. To dive in a little bit more specific to each and every one of these steps, I want to talk about some of the additional benefits that you can receive by being a part of this program. All of the incentive dollars that flow through this program gets paid directly to the contractor and aggregator level, which is allowing you to make the decision which or what percentage of that incentive might get passed out to a customer to help you close that particular job. We then take the utility metered energy savings and turn those into the payments for you, which translates into the higher savings that you can drive. The more valuable your savings are, the higher payments that any individual projects can yield. When we take a look at who and what is eligible for the program, we tried to keep it relatively simple as we've looked across a number of programs to see the areas of complication and where they lie. Because this is a meter-based program, we have a couple of things that would allow for sort of ineligibility for our program. Solar is really difficult for us to deal with in both the baseline period and the performance period, because it's hard for us to calculate what your actual savings may be if we do have solar at any particular site at that point in time. So at this point in time, solar is ineligibility criteria. In addition to that, utility incentives received by any customer in the last 12 months are also not allowed. So if a business has been receiving a rebate in some other program for the last 12 months, that leads to some double dipping issues and some regulatory headaches. So we need to be 12 months clear of the last program participation for any particular customer. Looking at what does indicate an eligible customer, again, a couple of pretty basic parameters that we have laid out. They have to pay into the public goods charge, which is the General Energy Efficiency Fund that I'm sure you're all aware of. You have to pay into the Fund of Energy Efficiency to be able to pull out of the Fund of Energy Efficiency, which is true for EE programs across the state. The location, because BayREN has a really lovely large footprint, as long as that project is located within one of the 9 Bay Area counties, it is eligible from a geographic standpoint. And then as we had mentioned earlier, the small to medium business and hard to reach focus means that our minimum criteria is an SMB, which is defined as one of less than 50,000 square feet of conditioned space, or on the consumption side, using less than 500,000 kWh or less than 250,000 therms on an annual basis. When we look at the continued customer eligibility, we will make a modification to what we deem as eligible based on meter data at some point down the road. From now until February, when we look at any individual customer, they just need to have a zip code in one of the Bay Area counties to be deemed as eligible. Come February of next year, we will change program rules to be in alignment with all FLEXmarkets, where consistent baseline energy usage is what will be deemed to call a project eligible or not. If you want to dive into the specific details of what the consistent baseline energy use looks like, in the program's measurement and verification plan, we can talk about model fits and CVR MSE another time if you have follow-up questions. But for now, it's just our ability to meter savings and have confidence in the results going forward. The BayREN Business Flex Market is measure and business model agnostic, which is offering a lot of flexibility to the aggregator and contractor community to go out there and bring in the projects that you think are going to drive savings. Traditional energy efficiency measures is really what we're looking for here. Heat pump installations, duct sealing, etc. Specifically, what that does not mean is generation, solar, fossil fuels, etc. This is going to be more of a traditional energy efficiency measure from a programmatic standpoint. But with that being said, all energy efficiency measures can count. It could be refrigeration, it could be lighting. We leave that up to you, so long as it meets the criteria that we've already discussed. The second level of the multipliers that we do offer for program incentives comes from what we had mentioned is the hard to reach criteria for any given customer. There is a point system which we've designed to indicate whether or not a given customer meets the hard to reach criteria. And we've broken it out by location, language, business size, and rented or leased facilities. These, as we've taken program feedback and program design, are the types of customers that have traditionally been hardest to enroll into energy efficiency programs. And so that feedback is taken into account when we have designed what the hard to reach multipliers are for our program. We will talk in a little bit about just how the extra incentives are given for one of these hard to reach customers. But as you go out and recruit customers, once you locate an SMB, taking that second step to see if they do meet the hard to reach criteria, this will be the system that you would use to see if those increased incentives are eligible for any given customer. Okay, so once we do have a project, once we do get past our eligibility stage, there are a number of tools on the demand flexibility website, which will allow you to do the actual enrolling of any given customer. We do have an eligibility check tool that will be live and ready once we do make the transition into the model fits based eligibility criteria. Until then, it really is a simple zip code check, and we have the list of zip codes that we'll be able to publish and have for you to check pretty quickly. We also have a tool that helps estimate value of any given project. This is particularly helpful in the prospecting point of view, where you can take a look at a project, what the scope may or may not look like, what the savings may be. It lets you play around with it to see what an incentive level might yield you. After that, we have just a couple of forms that are enrolling the actual project into our system, so we can take a look at it and say, yes, this is great, go build it. And then the final step, which is the tracking of our payment. That recurve tool for estimating payments should hopefully be relatively straightforward and is available now on the demand flexibility website. What you need is really some basic project information, the type of measure that you're going to put in, say it's lighting, the number of savings that you think you will see, some very basic information about where it might be located. We have extra filters for if that's an SMB customer, if it's a hard to reach customer, and what that incentive might look like, which allows you to just sort of play around with what a typical project of yours might yield you. So when you're going into your meetings with potential clients, you can have potentially a number in mind of what something might yield you. Transitioning to the actual enrollment process, I talked about having a sort of a two-step process where we're going to reserve program funds for you and give you confirmation that a project can be completed. That first step, you take all of the proposed information for a project and you submit it to Recurve for a basic desktop review so that we can see that it meets basic program parameters, and then potentially an engineering review if the savings are particularly large. Once we look at it and say, this project looks great, we would love to enroll this project into our program, we will issue a project reservation letter that indicates that we are reserving money from our budget for you, for your project to accrue savings over the next 12 months. Please go build. We then kick the ball back to you all where a project gets built. And once that step finishes, you can submit essentially the same information back to us once more. We want to be able to accommodate for changes in scope. Maybe a part had to change. Maybe there's additional parts to a project that get added on. More budget was found for the project, kind of thing. We just want to be able to take in all that information for a second time to say, okay, this project is fully complete. We understand what it looks like. We will then issue a completion letter, which is akin to the reservation letter. However, it says this project is done. This project meets all of our requirements to a satisfactory degree and will be tracked for savings over the course of the next 12 months. Within that last step, that's project completion step, we have a number of forms that we do want to highlight for you specifically. The first of which is the energy data authorization form. This is a fairly standard form that you see across a number of programs, certainly all recurve FLEXmarket programs, where it just says the customer gives authorized access to the aggregator, to you all, to view that actual consumption data. This will come into play when we have the actual savings tracking up in live for you to see, for you to track the progress of your projects throughout the course of their lifespan. The second form upon that completion step is the actual project completion form. This is really the only bit of information we need from the customer saying, yes, this was the project. This is what it looked like. I sign off on the project being completed. I sign off on any potential for a site visit upon the need for a site inspection, and basic information about the fact the project is complete. That gives it to us, and we can have this upon our filings back to the PUC saying any given project is done, and it has the customer permission for it specifically. We talked a little bit earlier about sample project incentives. And so we wanted to be able to display a couple of figures for you all to see what incentives might look like. The nature of a pay for performance program is it is a bit hard to give a specific number based off of what a project looks like. So these are some rough numbers based off of some sample projects that we have created. The primary difference I want to highlight is the large jump between the non-hard to reach and the hard to reach audiences that you might see across these projects. I think the HVAC replacement example kind of speaks for itself down in the middle, where we have an incentive that is just shy of 40K for the SMB factor. If you are able to establish that it is a hard to reach customer, that number does go up quite a bit in terms of the total incentive. The incentives that you see in either of these scenarios forms the basis of the upfront payment, which is 20% of that estimated incentive. So if your project comes in and looks like any of our examples on the screen, what you would receive following your project completion out of the gate would be a 20% of the actual estimated incentive that you may have for your given project. We do want to talk about some of the specifics of how you get paid. This might be a more in-depth slide than we've had, but it is worth going over, and we can field any questions that we have on this afterwards in the Q&A or on the one-on-one. But basically speaking, at the top, we have really just the timeline of quarters going forward. Say if you were to install a project and submit it over to us on January 1st of 2023, which is coming up pretty quick. At the end of that first month, you install projects in January. Come January, we would issue that advance payment for your particular project. So you get paid at that point in time. We then track any particular project. So your first project will get tracked for the next 12 months. And at the end of that first quarter, if there are savings, you will get paid additionally for that first project. If you look into quarter two of this theoretical timeline, we'd love to see a second project. You get a second project installed to us sometime in quarter two of 2023. You will receive an advance payment for that project or any project you have going forward, roughly the month after you get that project to us. You submit it on the 16th, we'll get it to you at the end of the month. So your second advance payment for your second project. Where the portfolio payments start to occur is where you have 2 projects, both accruing savings at the conclusion of the second quarter of the year. And you will then be paid out for the aggregate of your savings for your portfolio projects at the end of quarter 2. This example continues for the full size of your portfolio, however many projects you do bring in. In this example, we have a quarter 3 or quarter 4 of next year where you may have multiple projects, 3 projects that are all accruing savings that can all pay out at the conclusion of their quarters, which is the standard increment that we have for paying for savings for your portfolio of projects. And with all that being said, our threshold to participate in the program itself is something that is pretty easily written down. We have a flexibility purchase agreement for you all to sign. It's a pretty general document that just allows you to participate in really any of the Recur Flex markets. On top of that, there are terms and conditions and insurance requirements that the program has for you to check off and agree to that you can comply with upon submitting those projects to us. I will say that the flexibility purchase agreement is non-committal. You can sign it. You can become eligible to participate in any of our programs or in this particular program without any particular commitment. If you just cannot find a small to medium business project, that is okay. But we would love to be able to go through that FPA process with you. We would love to be able to introduce you to the BayREN Building Performance Advisor, TRC, who I believe is on this call as well, and try and help you find projects, try and help you find customers. If there are interesting things with their project, we'd absolutely love to work with you as well. If the actual FPA becomes a little bit too much work, if some of the things like the savings estimates that might be needed for project enrollments become too burdensome, there are opportunities for you to participate through partnerships. There are aggregators who are eligible to participate who can handle some of that work, who would love to team up and partner to be able to offer more comprehensive, deeper retrofits. Those are conversations that we can actually facilitate to be able to allow the broadest participation in the program as possible. And with that, we can pause for some question and answers. We have some contact information up here, just how you can sign up for the program, how you can reach out to Kara from the BayREN team or myself from the Recur team. So we will share this slide deck around for some specific questions if you all have them. But with that, I can open the floor to any specific comments. I do see some chat bubbles popping up that I can jump to in a second here. But with that, I will open the floor for you all to, I believe, unmute yourselves and join the conversations if you'd like. Okay, not hearing any.
Shall we start with some of the chat questions, Andrew? I see one about question, are these incentives cost capped?
They are not. They are not cost capped, no. Which is something you see in other programs that is not part of the program design. And then pulling up the chat here, I think we have, is there clawback if the customer's energy use increases during the measurement year? There is no clawback functionality whatsoever. The nature of a pay for performance program is consumption goes up and savings do not materials. There are no additional payments to be made. That being said, there is no clawback for the upfront payment to incentivize getting projects into the program.
Andrew, another one that came through the just the standard webinar chat. Does your program assume that the customer gets the project at no cost?
It does not assume that the customer gets a project at no cost. We use that no cost basis as a factor into some of these hard to reach programs. We've evaluated other hard to reach programs, other equity based programs across the country. And that is a large factor that plays in. Zero cost to the customer is oftentimes what it takes to get a project enrolled. So we wanted to have that be part of our consideration. We tried to design our incentives in mind to be able to get to a point where there is that as a potential scenario based off the incentives. That being said, there's no requirement to have zero cost to the customers. We do try and leave it up to the individual business models of the companies who do try and participate, and whatever works best for any given aggregator. We will leave that up to you all to decide. If there's specific feedback with that, come upon your first project, upon your 12th project, if we can reconvene in December of next year and you have feedback based off that, we'd love to hear it. But as it currently stands, we tried to design the incentives to be juicy enough to potentially facilitate that without having an explicit requirement. Let's see, I can't seem to get the chat to come up. Anybody else wants to help?
Another question, any one of these parameters approves a project for BayREN, so under 50,000 square feet of conditioned space or use under 500,000 kilowatt hours or 250,000 therms. So yeah, for the general small and medium business criteria, they just have to meet one. So either under the square footage or under one of those energy use. And so that's the general SMB. I'll also just add on that there are a few portions of the Bay Area that are served by multiple commercial FLEXmarket programs. So for example, MCE's territory, Sonoma Clean Power's territory, and in the future, East Bay Community Energy's territory will all have commercial programs. So in those areas, we're actually focusing only on hard to reach. So you would also have to look at the criteria for hard to reach in those specific territories. And another question. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Andrew.
I was saying, to add a little bit more depth there, because it is the service territory is quite large. There's also the chance that there are municipal utilities that are out there. There's no absolutes out there, but some of the municipal utilities do not pay the public surcharge into the state funds, and therefore would make them ineligible to the one parameter that we had, which is they need to be able to pay into the public goods surcharge.
Okay, so another question I see, can Recurve help identify hard to reach customers that are high users of HVAC during peak hours?
That's a great question. And we think it's a yes. We are still in the process of getting over the bulk non-participant data from Pacific Gas and Electric that would allow us to do some of those helpful tools, helpful tips, helpful introductions to customers that would make particularly good customers for your type of business model. That is our plan on having those targeting features up and ready. I don't have a specific timeline for it yet. Maybe Q1 of next year, we'll be able to do some of those more in-depth offering, but not at this time.
Okay. Is higher customer usage or no usage counted against the aggregation payments? This is similar to a question we had earlier.
Yes, and so on a portfolio level, if you have 4 or 5 projects, 4 of which are saving, one of which has increased consumption, that does net out at the portfolio level. There are no clawbacks, as we mentioned earlier, but the nature of the pay for performance model is that the sites themselves need to generate savings in order to be eligible for payments.
We have a question from John. Do measures based on new building controls and software qualify? For example, no equipment replacement, but a change in operations.
Will you repeat that, Kara?
Yeah, the question is, do measures based on new building controls and software qualify? And the example is there's no equipment replacement, but there's a change in operations.
Yes, that would qualify. We measure at the meter level, the utility meter level. So what we develop for the baseline of any given building will just be the previous 12 months of energy consumption data. Any measure that does go in and drive savings does not have to be an explicit replacement. If there are things that can be added that can save consumption, like something that's a question indicated, yes, it can qualify.
And another question is about the review process. How long will the review process take for a submitted reservation?
Yes, so we try and return both desktop and engineering reviews back within a week of submission. We do have a third-party independent engineering review for the individual projects, so those are sent to an independent party to do engineering reviews if they are conducted. But we try and get those back within a week of submission to the program.
Great. And then there's a question about how is BayREN working with other FLEXmarket offerings, MCE, PG&E, to coordinate program efforts? The PVE estimates for BayREN projects blow MCE and PG&E programs out of the water. So I would say, we are in regular communication with the other programs that are operating and the other program administrators like MCE and PG&E. And part of that is, as I mentioned earlier, for areas where there is some overlap, we try to minimize customer confusion. So again, like in certain areas, we're focusing on hard to reach and then letting these other programs take larger customers. Again, I think as Andrew mentioned, we really want to bring a focus to customers who traditionally are a little harder to serve and so don't get to benefit from the rebates that they are helping to pay into. So we've set those incentives fairly high to encourage all of you to hopefully go out and get projects, especially from hard to reach customers.
Yes, the incentives as they were built as well, it has been designed to seed the market. We would love to be able to stand up and have a consistent way to provide projects to this otherwise avoided sector. That being said, the incentives are particularly high, and the program broadly is planning on reviewing the incentives on a periodic basis at the end of our program year to say, was this enough? Is this too much? And so we will have these incentives for the duration of our program year. And if we need to reevaluate at the conclusion of the year, the program has the right to do that. If things are going really, really well, the program will look at those numbers to reevaluate for the coming year. So I would say programs or projects that you have lined up, get them in sooner rather than later, just because they're particularly high to jumpstart this market as a point to factor in.
Okay, a couple additional questions I'm seeing come in. There's a question about, can chain stores or restaurants be included, and how is incentive calculated in dollars per kWh?
We don't have any parameters against chain stores. If they meet the criteria listed above on our deck, they are good to participate. With regard to how as a KWH turned into $1, it's probably a longer conversation that we can have in a one-on-one. I would say please use the project value estimator tool on the demand flexibility website. If you don't have a login, we can get you a login, but you can go there, play around with that tool. There should be some helpful tips and tricks there. And if you'd like to go into a deeper dive, myself, I would love to have a conversation with you. I think we have Tyler Cashin on the call as well. He is sort of the primary liaison to the aggregator community for our program. We would both love to spend some time with you and discuss some of those questions.
Okay, we had a similar question in the Q&A. I think that it's probably also answered. It was, how are the payments calculated, or what's the value assigned to kWh and therm saved? So similar answer there. And then another question from Taylor, is there a plan to allow sites with recently installed generation systems to become eligible for this program in the future, assuming the customer can provide utility grade time-stamped generation measurements, so energy savings from conservation measures can be parsed out of net utility data?
That's a great question. And the second half of it is kind of the key to the question. Yes, assuming that a customer can provide utility data that's time stamped, that is granular enough, that is down to the hourly level. All of the grid impact that we value is done on an hourly level. If we can develop processes to consistently intake solar data, generation data that has hourly granularity that can be passed and netted out of consumption, there are plans to be able to take that into accommodation for any site that could be enrolled. So our current capability, we're actively working on it. We'd love to be able to make that transition. But with your caveat, Taylor, I think you hit the nail on the head with that last part. Assuming the customer can provide that utility grade timestamp generation measurement that we can net out from the meter data itself.
Okay, I'm not seeing any more questions in either the Q&A chat or the webinar chat right now. People can also, unmute yourselves and ask them as well. I did see a clarifying comment from our team here that some of the hard to reach criteria is not necessarily included in like PG&E's utility data. I think the original question was, could we use data to help identify hard to reach customers and high users for energy use? Some of the hard to reach criteria are not necessarily something that would be found in PG&E's data. So we could, identify high energy users, but perhaps not some of those hard to reach criteria.
Yes, good clarification. Thank you.
Any other questions from anyone today? Andrew, do you want to just talk about if people want to follow up what their options are for one-on-one contact or the website?
Yes, absolutely. We do have some information listed on the screen, as I can minimize all of our videos so I can see it specifically. But yes, please do follow up with us. You can go through the actual Demand FLEXmarket website itself to do a lot of the functionalities that we talked about earlier, signing up for the program, signing the FPA. You can request more information. There's a general inbox that just says, hey, here's a question. Do you have an answer for it? You can do all of that at the demandflexmarketwebsite.com. You can also reach out to us individually. I have Kara's contact information listed. Kara would be more than happy to answer some of your specific questions, as would I, Andrew at recurve.com. We'd be more than happy to answer you specifically or refer you over to one of our aggregator recruitment specialists who can work with you to go into the nitty-gritty details of what your project might look like, to talk about what might be the best fits for any particular measure, things like that.
Great. And we do have a couple questions that have come in. So let me see. Question is, have you done any projects in this new offering?
The program has had its first project enrolled for on the current program year. Came in a couple of weeks ago. So we are very excited about that. We are off and running, yes.
And we hope to have more, so please join us.
Yeah, absolutely.
And a question from Michael, will the program allow a similar arrangement for EV charging equipment installations, again, with a metered usage that could be separated from the net utility data?
I don't have any specific answers on EV data just yet. We've realized that it's a problem that is probably encountered quite a bit, where there's EV charging added to a number of sites. I don't have a roadmap for a similar process as I described for solar data. Once and if it is developed, it will follow the same lines, where if the data can be reliably taken in and netted out from a bill of consumption, I think there's the possibility that the program can make those changes to accommodate electric vehicle data or solar data. I just don't have a timeline or a map to that just yet.
Although if the EV charger is on its own dedicated meter and that's separate from the meter being tracked for the energy efficiency project, there should be no issue.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, I don't see any further questions. I think we could be happy to stay on the line for a few more minutes, but I'd like to just thank everyone so much for coming today. And please feel free to contact Andrew or myself or the Recurve team with questions, and visit the website to learn more and sign up. If you want to drop off, feel free to and regain a few minutes in your day, or if you want to stay on and think of another question, feel free. We'll stay on for a few more minutes, but I don't see any other questions. Oh, sorry, I missed one in the chat. One more here. Can EV telematics be used to verify energy savings?
They cannot. We will use the meter data, the actual utility meter data, to verify the savings for the building level.
Okay, great. So yeah, thank you everyone. And thanks for attending today. Have a great rest of your day. And Andrew and I will stay on for another minute in case there's a few questions that come in.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Seeing our boxes tick down slowly. Any questions to the remaining group?
I don't see anything in the chats. Well, do you want to call it? Should we end the webinar?
Yeah, we can do that. Great job, Kara. Thanks for kicking us off. Thanks for the bringing the enthusiasm. We'll be excited to hopefully get some projects from this group.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I thought this was great. Appreciate all the hard work on it, Andrew. Yeah, so we'll be in touch.
Yeah, talk soon.
Okay, bye.